It's mid-autumn and there are still lots of things to do in the garden, and there's cold weather coming this weekend, so I'm going to do some of the tasks I like to do pre-frost to ensure I maximise my harvest and I get the garden ready for that colder weather. I'm Zorab and this is Byther Farm. And one of the first jobs is to harvest the ripe beans. Not all of these feel like they're fully ripe, but the damp is starting to make the pods really go rather squashy, so I would rather collect them now with smaller beans than not have them at all. These Greek gigantes beans, I like to harvest them when they're just turning yellow or possibly even slightly greener, because it means that I can cook and freeze them for use in the winter. When they've dried out more, I will need to soak the beans before I use them. Now, I'm absolutely rubbish at remembering to soak dried beans, but if you're good at remembering to soak beans overnight before you want to use them, now is the time to harvest them, and then you can finish drying them out in your home, and they'll be great to store in jars for use right through the rest of the year. And while I'm out here, I'm also going to take a few cuttings of one of my favourite fuchsias. So this is, I don't know the variety, but I love the fact that it has pink leaves. So I'm going to take a few cuttings. Now, I would normally put the cuttings into a plastic bag to conserve the moisture. I don't have that with me, but I did have a little jar with some water in it. So I'm literally just going to stand them in the water. Maybe even move those leaves as well. Here we go. I would love to have a few more of these. They are so pretty. And they're not useless in the edible garden, because for many fuchsias, you can eat the berries that they produce. So that's as much as I'm going to take from this shrub now, but there's another fuchsia that I want to take cuttings from too. And this beautiful fuchsia with its golden green leaves and vivid coloured stems. This plant comes from a cutting that I took a few years ago in our old house, and so I want to have some more of these. So I'm going to repeat the process of finding some nice stems, removing the lower leaves, there we go. So now I have 5 cuttings of each variety of fuchsia. Hooray! Our squash plants have really struggled this year. In fact, everything in the cucurbit family has really struggled. We had a cold spring, so I didn't actually sow the seeds till quite late. Then we had a very dry spell, and I kept the plants watered, but I don't think they loved that either. And then we just had weeks and weeks and weeks of rain. So they haven't really got going in the way that I'd like them to. We're on a north-facing hillside, and all that rain has kept the temperatures quite low. And the plants really just haven't been happy and haven't loved it. But we're now about to have 2 degrees, so that's 35, 36 degrees F overnight. And I want to get in any squashes I can find. I'll take them into the house to finish curing them in there, or even for them to finish ripening and then cure them. And I only have really some very little squashes, but I do have some. So here is a little butternut squash. It's not ripe enough yet really to pick up and just store, so I'm going to be allowing this to mature more in the house. So you'll see I've taken not only the little bit that attaches to the squash, but some of the stem as well. This stem is going to shrink back, and this, as it matures, will go darker. So this isn't, fully ripe yet, but there's a very real risk that in this cold snap that's coming, this would just go to mush I'd rather have a small one and have a chance with it than just have mushy squash. So now I'm just going to see if there are any others. They don't need to be terribly big because there are only 2 of us. Mr. J's not hugely keen on squash, but it would be nice if we had more than just one. Aha! There's another one. Again, it's very small, but just for 2 of us, for a side dish and a meal, that's fine. Now, as I say, usually I would leave these to ripen as long as possible on the vines, but we are getting these cold nights over the weekend. I can't come and cover them because I'm away for the weekend. I'm leaving Mr. J here to look after the ducks. But I can't expect him to be running out nursing all these plants, because that's my job. And in here I've spotted there's an Uchiki Kiri squash. It's small, but I'm very happy with that. And further down in the veg garden there is now this is either a blue Hubbard or a blue banana squash. And I can't work out which it's supposed to be, but either way, I'm going to cook this next week and we'll see what it tastes like. The weather forecast for the next few days says it will be warm during the day and then really quite cold at night. So I need to do a sort of balancing act, a juggling thing between not letting the plants get too hot, but also not letting them get too cold. So I think now is the time for me to take in my bucket of potatoes and mint, because I don't want the potato foliage to be frosted, so they can go inside. I'm not putting them very far inside, but they are inside. And I'm also going to take in all the tender plants that I've got here. So any dahlias in pots, things like my pineapple sage cuttings. So there's a cutting I took in September. It's already got some roots coming out of the bottom of it. Here's one that I took earlier in the year. And here is the parent plants. Well, I know these don't like frost and they go right back to nothing. So I'm going to take them in just to protect them a bit. And various pots of dahlias that haven't really done much yet. Look at this one, it's just about to start flowering at a point when it could get knocked back. And so I'll spend the next few minutes just checking through my pots here, seeing if there are other things I want to take inside and protect from the cold. Once I'm back from being away, I can choose daily whether they're in or out of the polytunnel. But just for now, while I won't be here to do that, they are just going inside. Mr. J will open up the polytunnel each morning and close it at night. And that should give them ample protection. While I'm out here, one of the things I have noticed is there's an awful lot of corn that can be cut back, tidied up. So I don't lift my corn when I put it out of the ground. I'm going to also harvest the small cobs that are on it, because you never know, there might be some there that I can use. So I just cut the stems, leave the roots in the ground. They'll rot down over the next few months. Add nutrition back into the soil, and as the roots disintegrate, they'll leave channels for water and air to go through. It's all good stuff. The corn in this bed hasn't done terribly well this year, and I think that's about a lack of nutrients in the compost. And I'm just having a look at how they've done. Well, I'm saying they haven't done well, but you know what? That will. do me quite nicely for my breakfast. I'm also going to tidy up this bed. This is not an essential before the cold weather, but I'm out here, so I might as well do it. This corn is looking great, not for eating, but for saving the kernels for next year's seeds. Oh, and then this lot can go to the compost heap.